All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi Stadium with the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. Check them out in both spots. They're open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description and type in the promo code KRUEG, K-R-U-E-G, and they will match your first $100 courtesy of Underdog Fantasy, the sponsor of today's video. All right, we're down here in Santa Clara on a Thursday talking Niner football. Niners practicing, kind of a rainy, cold day as they get ready for Sunday against the Seahawks, their second battle with the Seahawks in the last 3 weeks. Eric Armstead has got a foot injury. He was out today. Ray McLeod's got a rib injury. He did not practice today. Darrell Luter Jr. is out with a hamstring injury, and Ross Dwelly with a high ankle sprain. So those guys all were out today. Spencer Burford has a knee injury. Elijah Mitchell has a knee. They worked on a side field. So that's the injury update for the week, at least for today. Ty Davis Price was re-signed. We talked about this in an earlier video, but he's been re-signed to the practice squad. They gave him back his old number and his old locker, and they moved Logan Ryan into a temporary locker. So I don't know that the Niners necessarily thought that Ty Davis Price was going to be back, because yesterday they gave his number 32 to Logan Ryan. But today Price reclaimed his number, and Logan Ryan will wear number 33 instead. And I think it has to do with the fact that Elijah Mitchell, his knee injury has not allowed him to practice the last couple of days, and I think they want to make sure they have coverage at running back. Also, they decided to release wide receiver Isaiah Winstead, who is a really interesting prospect in his own right, really great route runner, caught over 80 balls, I believe, at ECU for the Pirates last year, and is a big receiver, but he doesn't really separate, doesn't really have NFL caliber speed. And so that's what's going to prevent him from making the league if he doesn't make it. But Winstead was released to create room for Ty Davis Price. Logan Ryan, as I said, is the veteran defensive back, and Steve Wilks said, "Hey man, this guy's played in a couple Super Bowls. We're lucky to have a guy with that kind of experience." Ryan will wear number 33 going forward. And Mitchell, by the way, has missed the last 2 practices. He didn't just miss today. He also missed yesterday with a knee injury. So I don't know what his status is for Sunday, but Elijah Mitchell's still battling knee pain. One other note today that was kind of interesting is that Robbie Gould officially retired from the NFL. Gould told everybody that he chose the Niners to kind of finish up with the twilight years of his career because of his respect and admiration for Kyle Shanahan. So he wanted to play for Shanahan, and that's what led him to San Francisco. What a career for Robbie Gould, by the way. 2005 to 2022, 11 different seasons in the NFL. Robbie Gould made at least 85% of his kicks. And there were I think he had 8 years in a row with the Bears where he didn't miss a PAT. He was tremendously consistent. 38 for 38 in the playoffs. It doesn't get any more consistent than that. And, I've had a chance to know Robbie Gould and interview him and talk to him, and he's just an awesome guy, man. First-class guy all the way through, family guy. We talked last year about, I have 3 sons. He has 3 sons. We just talked a little bit about life and, managing an NFL career, but at the same time being the leader of a household, and how difficult that is, and how much he cherishes that time with his boys. So I'm happy for Robbie Gould, man. He had a great NFL career, finished up strong with the Niners. I think he had interest in being back here this year, but once the Niners decided they were going with Jake Moody, and once they decided they were going to stick with Jake Moody, I think it was pretty much clear at that point. Robbie did have a tryout, I believe in November, with the New York Giants, and the Giants went in a different direction and signed a different veteran kicker. So you know what? Good for Robbie. He's had an amazing career. He was a great 49er. And I'll just always remember him making that kick in Green Bay with the snow falling and the unsure footing and everything that goes into kicking in December and January in a place like Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the conditions. And Robbie Gould is a great story, man. He's a great story of perseverance. I would use Robbie Gould as a great example to any young person who's, asking about the secret to life or the secret to success in whatever. It's like, you're going to get knocked down, and that part is guaranteed. How you react to being knocked down defines you. Robbie Gould was not a 5-star prospect coming out of high school in, I believe, the state of Pennsylvania. He was a walk-on at Penn State, and Joe Paterno, gave him a shot. But he was a walk-on there at Penn State, so he was not a ballyhooed recruit. Then he comes into the NFL. He was undrafted. 7-round draft, nobody wanted him. A lot of guys would quit right there. Then he goes to the Patriots, he gets cut. He goes to the Giants, he gets cut. He goes to the Ravens. He had to float around to 3 different teams his first year in the league before he could get established. So, to me, it's just a story of perseverance. You don't get recruited out of high school, so what? If you have the dream, go walk on somewhere and show them that you can do the job. You don't get drafted in the NFL, so what? Show up in somebody's camp, get a tryout, and make the most of it. Robbie Gould has got nothing but respect from me, man. The guy created an NFL career that lasted almost 2 decades, from a guy who was a walk-on at Penn State and an undrafted free agent to nearly 20 years in the NFL. I'm sure he's made a lot of money and provided very well for his family and kids, and very cool, just very cool. So Robbie Gould, if you're seeing this out there, congratulations, man, on 18 freaking awesome years in the NFL. You were a great Niner. We'll miss you a lot. And one last note, the 49ers today, the Pro Bowl voting update was released. 16 different 49ers are in the top 10 of the Pro Bowl voting at their respective positions in the NFC. Christian McCaffrey leading the way. He's got the 3rd most votes of any player in all of football. 7 49ers have the most votes at their position in the NFC. Those 7 guys would be Fred Warner, Trent Williams, Christian, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, and Javon Hargrave. All those guys are, have the most votes of anybody at their position in the NFC. Kittle, by the way, has the 2nd most votes in the entire NFL. Bosa and Tabor Pepper have the 3rd most votes. Brandon Ayuk, Dre Greenlaw, Aaron Banks, Eric Armstead all rank either 8th or 9th at their position, so they need more work. Come on, Ayuk deserves to be a Pro Bowler for sure. Greenlaw is absolutely a Pro Bowler. Armstead and Banks are not far behind. Those guys are having outstanding years as well. Jake Brendel is 5th among centers. Brock Purdy, who's arguably the MVP of the league, is 6th among quarterbacks. Mooney Ward is 7th among corners, and Mitch Wishnowsky 7th among punters. So the Niners are going to be well represented at the Pro Bowl this year for sure, and they deserve to be. So that's a wrap up here in Santa Clara. Had a chance to go in the locker room, talk to George Kittle about how he kept 2 hands locked on the football in traffic this week against the Eagles. And he just said, hey, you know what? I just want to make sure I didn't fumble. Big game, a lot on the line. I just want to make sure. So that little small attention to detail was huge. I had a chance to talk to Christian McCaffrey today. And I asked McCaffrey about his kid brother, Luke, who's a really good player in college right now. He's a receiver. He's a quarterback. He said he's seen every snap, and that he's a football player, and that his dream is to someday play with Luke. So, message to John Lynch, you may want to look at Luke on day 3 of the draft next year. He's a tremendous young talent. And as Christian says, he's a football player. Runs well, he's 6'2", he's a productive player, very productive receiver, can play quarterback in a pinch. So don't forget the name Luke McCaffrey. Christian says he's coming. And then I had a chance to go talk to Randy Gregory, and man, I mentioned to Randy Gregory how the Niner D-line did an awesome job in this game against Philly of staying in their rush lanes and having a coordinated rush as one approach. And I mentioned to him, I said there was one play where Bosa knifed inside and left the outside wide open as a rush lane for Hurts, in that Armstead saw Bosa go inside and he moved outside. And, you know, first of all, Randy's like, yeah, man, that's the way you got to do it against Hurts, and that's probably the way we got to do it this week against Geno. We got to rush as one. And then he gave me the old pat on the back and said, hey, man, I respect the hell out of you for watching the film. So that of course, makes me sky high that I got the shout-out from Randy Gregory. And then I got a nice sit-down with Javon Kinlaw. And Kinlaw is one of my guys, one of my favorite guys. And we just talked life. We talked Debo. We talked personal favorites. He loves watching Debo. He loves watching Greenlaw. He loves watching Big Trent. And just had a chance to rap a little bit with Kinlaw. We even talked a little bit about chewing tobacco at the end. So it was a good day down here in Santa Clara. Hope you enjoyed the full recap down here in Santa Clara. And now I'm back to the creek. But thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check that link in the description and hit that promo code Krug, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.